for 18 years, both in the UK, in Dubai, and now in Hong Kong. He's passionate about IT and about the future of technology, which might explain why he's so active on social media these days. I've been watching him. He arrived in Hong Kong as the new principal and CEO last August. I mean, can you imagine arriving in Hong Kong as principal of a school August last year? You think what's happened between now and then? I don't think you'd have a more interesting start to a career here. The principal CEO of Kellett School, Mark Steed. Mark, over to you.
Great. Well, thanks for the introduction. Yes, it's been a bit of a baptism of fire here in Hong Kong. I've been asked to talk today about the well-being issues, because one of the things that schools fulfill is an enormous pastoral role and an enormous community role. So I want to share with you some of the sort of experiences that we've had at Kellett during the past sort of 6-7 weeks, really around some of the well-being issues that we've had to deal with. And you know, it's been quite a challenging time for our community, being dislocated. So I mean, let's start with sort of student well-being. So I mean, we've put in place a whole range of measures that have evolved, to be honest, over the past 6 weeks. So one of the things that in the secondary school that we're doing is that the tutors have a daily meeting with their students. They check in with them. Doesn't have to be for very long, but they can use Zoom to do that. We've been sending out a questionnaire to students on a fortnightly basis. They have to self-report, and we follow up with anybody who self-reports at a 4 or lower would be invited to have a sort of one-to-one counselling session. And that's been really important to give support to some vulnerable students, you know, within our community. And then we've tried to do a whole load of sort of well-being initiatives. We've got a long tradition of sort of Feel Good Friday here at Kellett. So we've tried to sort of carry these on. So we actually have managed to run an open mic competition, for example, with the students, using a mixing desk, and ran it out through a YouTube broadcast. So the students were around the world. They sang their song or did their piece, and it was streamed out. So we've tried to keep those sorts of initiatives that, you know, other than just the academic, going through this time. In the prep schools, we've got our assemblies, and this is Ben Dixon, the head of the prep at Pot Fulham. He did a worry bag assembly the other day, and talking about how everyone could sort of put their worries in the bag, and had teachers involved in that. What we've moved towards using, what we realised, we were making a lot of videos with our students, but we realised that wasn't enough. So we've actually moved to having some live contact, a sort of take the register circle time with the year groups. And we've actually rolled that all the way down to our youngest students now, because they really value, and they really miss their teachers, and they really miss each other. And so it's a way of sort of bringing the class together and having a bit of live contact, and not just having the video teaching. And also, we've tried to have a whole load of creative and musical events. We had a day when everybody in the community wore red, our school colour, across the whole school, admin staff, pupils, and so on, just to try and bring everyone together on that front. And this was a sort of happiness wall. So we've tried to move some of the things. You know, today is the International Day of Happiness. You know, so this is one of our latest initiatives. We put everyone posting what makes them happy on the Padlet. We've learned some really quite interesting lessons throughout this time, and the first one is that the normal issues that we deal with as a pastoral team don't go away just because the school's closed. And when we've got students, you know, whose parents have been diagnosed with cancer, we've got students who are facing bereavement and all the rest of it, and those issues are still there. And everyone might be talking about the coronavirus and so on, but they're still a part of it. The second one is that some long-standing issues take on a new complexion. I mean, we've got a student who's a near-school refuser, got anxiety issues, doesn't like coming to school at the best time. So she's absolutely happy as she's ever been because she doesn't have to come into school. We've also got a student who had a very bad skiing accident at Christmas, and the support, because all the lessons are home learning and all the support is there, the support she's had since we've gone to home learning has actually been better than as you'd expect, because everyone's put a lot of energy into it, than she would have had during term, where it becomes a sort of a bit more of an add-on. And then you've got the coronavirus issues, and the medical, the financial, the family events. People worried about weddings not happening, not being able to be there for family. We've got some staff who feel very isolated, and students who feel isolated because they left in an apartment on their own perhaps and having to work there. And the converse, which is more common, is that the whole sense of too many people being in the house and fighting over the tech and so on, which people have alluded to already. So these are a whole range of well-being issues. And then the staff, we've actually took the decision to have the teachers into school from the day one. We got everyone back to Hong Kong. We've had them in school, in the prep school Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and the senior schools they've been in every day because the EDB kindly allowed us to have face-to-face tutorial support for our exam years. And so those people have been in school. And I think we've really felt that's been very, very important. Staff were initially very anxious about it, but it really, the sense of camaraderie, the sense of having collegiality, all of those things have really brought the community through. And we've sort of added in a whole range of well-being initiatives for the staff to sort of keep morale up and go on through. So on the screen, you've got the timetable and program there for the week. We've got, we sort of pushed the boundaries of social distancing a little bit too far. We have bring and share lunches, and we did put food on, and we used the school buses to bus the staff in so they didn't have to use public transport because there was a lot of anxiety about that. So we've really tried to look after the staff, keep morale up, and while they're sharing best practice. But sadly, all of that's got to stop next week because we've taken the view that we really will have to close the school. It's getting too close. There have been incidents within the international schools community, and we just felt it was the right time to actually step back from that. So people will be working from home. So we're working on what will we be doing in terms of providing virtual support in the way that we have otherwise. And then finally, and very briefly, parental well-being. There's an enormous amount of pressure out there for parents, whether it's fear of actually catching the virus or financial or missing family events and not being able to support family members and so on. There's a whole raft of anxiety kicked off yesterday around exams being cancelled and what this means for their children in terms of university entrance and qualifications and so on. So we're handling a lot of those sorts of things. So we've worked really hard on our messaging as a community, talking to our parents, trying to carry them with us and make explain the rationale behind our decisions. But also, things like parent-teacher conferences have sort of shifted in emphasis really, because parents, you want to offload to someone. They're grappling with the supporting home learning. They're worried about their children, and the parent-teacher conferences, which we've done through Zoom or through phone calls, have actually been a really important part of providing support for our community. So that's how some of the well-being issues that we've faced during our time at Kellett. So that's really, it's been a really interesting journey for us as a community, and it's been great to share it with you today.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you very much. Very interesting. I did like